see here. So, welcome to the call. Today, we're going to be talking about stopping the thoughts that control your life, or that are from controlling your life, and starting to get beyond those. That's something I've had to do a lot of work with in my life. I used to be so in my head. My old teacher used to say I was above my head. He would point and say, "You're not in your head. You're above your head, trying to leave your body." Jokingly saying that I was totally disconnected from what I was feeling in my body. A lot of our work is about feeling, getting into your body. But let's talk about the thoughts, because the thoughts can really take you out. They did for me for many years. I would I would obsess over my thoughts. I'd obsess over what was coming up in my mind, what I was feeling, what I was experiencing, and I would analyze, 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 analyze. I couldn't stop analyzing and thinking about how to fix this, how to change that. And it was really burning me out. It was actually making me really tired. I was drinking a lot of caffeine to kind of force myself to move forward, pushing, pushing, pushing. And it was kind of nonstop. And ultimately, in the end, that's what burned me out. That's what caused me to reach a point where I took almost a year off to learn to slow my mind down, meditate, process all my negative thoughts. Because literally, I was beating myself up in my mind. I was self abusive. I was self attacking, self devaluating. I would devaluate myself all the time in self-devaluation conflict. And it was really, really bad. And somebody wrote audio is static. Is that only for this person that wrote it, or is that for everybody? Because only one person wrote it. So let me know if anybody else is having that trouble. Um, so, uh, so yeah, that was basically what was going on for me. I was really beating myself up in my head a lot, and that takes a toll on your body, guys. That really takes a toll on your body. Your body starts tightening up, starts getting rigid. Your shoulders get tight. Your head starts coming forward. It's almost like it wants to get off your body as it comes forward. Thank you, Leo. Appreciate it. Audio is good. Thank you, Igor. Um, so yeah, you might want to check your audio if you're having trouble on your end. And my head was, and I had a lot of what they call a C curve in my, and I've been coming forward, and I've worked a lot to bring that back. But I've also worked a lot to learn to stop all that negative thinking. Now, when you have a ton of negative thinking, just stopping your thoughts is really difficult. This is where meditation comes in. It's so powerful to learn to meditate, to learn to interrupt your thoughts. And I'm gonna tell you, this was the hardest thing for me to realize, guys. Really hard for me to realize. But I want you all to take a note on this. That that when you reach that best of a problem, let's say it's approaching women, you're trying to figure out how to approach women, you're trying to figure out how to meet a girl, you're trying to figure out how to get that girlfriend, and you're working and obsessing and you're thinking about it all day long, you're starting to burn out. The best thing you can do is literally stop thinking about that thing for a while. A lot of you think I need to think about it more. I need to think about it harder because I need to solve this. It's never going to get solved. But the truth is your mind has become so hyper focused on the thing that you're not going to find a solution. You're stuck in the problem when you're that hyper focused. See, solutions come when your mind is wide and open and the problem seems very small relative to everything else in the world. But when the problem becomes your whole world, when you can't think about anything else, it's really hard to find a solution because nothing else can get in. An example of this is if I'm walking down the street and I'm in the now, taking in nature, really enjoying the dog walking down the street, the birds flying by. It's a beautiful day. I'm thinking about all the good things, and I have this one problem approaching women, but everything else looks really good to me, and I'm really appreciating the beauty in the world. That problem looks much smaller and easier to manage. But when I obsess over that problem and I can't see any of this other stuff, and all I see is every girl that walks by, how come I can't approach her? Oh, what do I say? How do I say it? Then that problem becomes my whole world. And then there is no solution because I can't see the bigger picture. It really, all your problems are small relative to the nature of everything that is. And that's ultimately what we had to do. So I had a teacher that showed me this. His name was Chad, and Chad would work with me every time I got in my head and got obsessing, like mentally beating myself up because it was such a bad habit. Chad would stop me and he would force me to slow down and open back up. He would sit down with me and force me to take in the now, drop into my body, feel my heart, like we talk about, open my heart, open in my stomach, relax, feel everything until suddenly this mental mumbo jumbo going on in my head started to relax and I started to feel more of my body. And then pretty soon, what was bothering me so much didn't seem like such a big deal anymore. because now I was taking in everything else. But then what would happen is my mind, my monkey mind, as somebody wrote earlier, would want to go back to that problem an hour later. Immediately, I'd go back and open up again. Then my monkey mind would want to go back to that problem again. Immediately, I'd open up again. And if I couldn't, I'd talk to Chad and we would do it together and we would work on this, staying open, learning to stay open, and then work on looking at the problem from the open place. And as soon as my mind started to do this again and collapse in on the problem, start to obsess over it, the wanting, that crazy wanting, I'd immediately let it go and go back to open again. And then as soon as I started to obsess, until I could look at the problem, not obsess, until I could look at it and stay open. And that's always when the solutions came, only when the solutions came. So I want to talk about that today. I was saying how to stop your mind. We're going to talk about a simple process. And I began to realize that the process I was doing with Chad was very similar to a process I had learned years earlier when I went to hypnosis school. My God, it was so similar, it was kind of ridiculous. And when I went back and looked at that process, I began to realize the power of that simple process, and I could have been using it all along. A lot of times the answer is right there, and you just don't see it. And so when I went back and looked at that solution, and then I started doing it, wow, did so many things change in my life. And then I started teaching it to other people, and that changed in their lives too. So, really quick, before I move on, I want to do a quick check-in. How many of you guys feel like you have problems obsessing? That your mind is constantly obsessing and thinking, and you lose track of what's really important because you're obsessing over something. Your mind can't stop thinking. It rambles, and that could be self-doubt. It could be just beating yourself up. It could be trying to figure out a problem. It could be all that type of stuff. Okay, cool. That's what we're going to talk about. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Now, first off, to really understand this, resentment's a big one too, Mario. A Mario fan. Resentment's the mind tends to find solutions when it's relaxed. Doesn't mean it tends to find solutions the more up in cap you are, courage, acceptance, love, peace. The more open and relaxed and flowing you are, the more it sees, hey, you know what? Talking to that girl isn't such a big deal. Or, you know what? I found the perfect solution to talking to that girl. I'll give you an example. When my mind was really tight, all I could see is I have to talk to that girl or I'm a bad person. When my mind was open, I didn't feel like I was a bad person for not talking to her. So the idea of talking to her was easier. But let's say I still couldn't do it. And I was still nervous. I said, what are other ways I can get good at talking to girls? Oh, then I found one. Here's a simple one. A simple one a lot of you guys have never thought of. But when my mind was open, it was very simple. And I figured this out for students, and then I started using it with coaches and everybody. Is I find a guy that is good at talking to girls, and then I just walk with him, and he introduces me to people on the street, and we start chatting. Or I do it for the students. Say, "Hey, my name's Brian. What's up? How you doing?" Start chatting about something, and say, "Oh, meet my buddy." And then boom, he starts talking, and he watches me do it over and over and over again. I did this for the first time I did this. A student just stood next to me, and I was in a mall and I went from store to store, chatting with the store clerks, went through the mall, chatted with people, and just had the student listen. And then I introduced the student, and he was shaking, nervous because he was super antisocial. Eventually, he calmed down, and then eventually said, "I want to take the lead." And he started introducing me to people like I was shy, and I'd pretend to be shy. It was great for him because he put the focus on me. And then eventually, he got comfortable enough I could step farther and farther away slowly, and he was able to start conversations himself. Then from there, he started learning to flirt. Another good one that often works is we'll walk down the street and I'll open two people really quick or say hi to two people, joke with them. And the person will stand next to me. And then immediately we switch like a leapfrog, and that person will do one or two people. And then we'll switch back, and then I'll do one or two. And then he'll do, and he keeps comparing, watching the way I do it versus the way he does it. And every time he gets new insights, and he stops worrying about doing it wrong because I'm right next to him the whole time. And then eventually he's opening 3 to my 1, and then eventually 4 to my 1. He'll do 4, and then he can compare what he did to my 1 and see how me or one of my coaches looks grounded, calm, open, confident. And again, these solutions come, these realizations on ideas on what to do when the mind is more open and you start to see solutions. And by the way, that last one works like a charm. And then eventually you just get the balls to go do it yourself because you've done enough of these progressions that everything starts to work. Um, so, what is this simple idea that'll help you to stop your thinking? so much. It's very simple. We're going to do it right now. Akin to meditation, but it's a little different. We're going to call it it's a hypnosis kind of thing or a mindset kind of thing, releasing, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same shit in some ways. Different, but the same. So I want each one of you on this call, there's 45 of you, listen carefully. And this is something Lester Levinson actually did too. And I want you to remember a time you felt capped, and some form of love. Could be appreciation, joy, courage. Just all of those are forms of loving yourself. And just remember a time you felt great, and particularly a time you felt great, maybe out with a friend or with a girl or people. Maybe it was just a sunset or the beach. Anything that made you feel great. Just remember that time. And I want you to replay it in your mind's eye. And if you can, see it all around you. Like if there was a person involved, maybe it's your best friend, that person's over there, or there was the beach, maybe it's right here, and you can hear the waves, and add in sound, add in images, add in smells if there's any, maybe the salt air if it was the beach. Maybe if it's a pretty girl, there's the perfume she was wearing. And then I want you to add in a touch. Was there anything tactical? Maybe there's a breeze blowing on your face or the sun or a combination. And then I want you to add in any taste that was there. So all 5 senses, get them involved and see if you can feel your body remembering that experience and starting to open again. This sense that you're starting to relax, and maybe you get a little endorphin pop as you welcome this old memory. For me, when I welcome an old memory like this and I see all the details, and I'm picturing me with my dog, a specific period of time with my dog, and I'm just picturing me holding her, and I'm getting the actual sensation of her in my arms again. I'm getting the tingles through my body. I'm getting the smiles. I'm getting her little face when she would do when she would play and she'd jerk her head. And it just causes me to feel so good. All the endorphins rush through my body again as I have that experience. I can feel her in my arms when I do that. It's a sense she's right here, cuddled up next to me. And it's a beautiful experience for me. Who's able to get that really good experience? Put in the comments that you can do that if you can. If you can relive it. I'm going to wait till you guys type something. Who's able to get a really good experience where they feel that little part of their body waking up, feeling really good, feeling the endorphins pop when they go into an old memory? Let's see. Anybody? I am. Okay, awesome. There's one. Good, good. AG. Thank you, AG. Anybody else? Thought a time in Italy. That's great. From the food to the sights. Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Nice. I have, yes. My time in Geneva. That's nice. So notice you all have these experiences. Remembering when my kids were young and holding them. That's a great one. Okay. If you can't you're not going to you may not have some senses that are as strong as others, but if whatever is there, whatever works, as long as you get the endorphin pop, my birthday. So that's what you want to do. You want to get that endorphin pop. Good, good. Now, good job, Frank. Awesome. And so what I want you to do now is let it go. Let the image go and just come back to the physical now you're in, sitting in front of your computer, listening to me yammer away, and just relax. And notice the endorphins come down. They start to relax. You start to enjoy this moment again, and maybe you just become neutral, or maybe something else comes up or an old thought. And just notice what comes up for you. Drop back into this moment right here, right now. And let the endorphins come down. Now, what I'm showing you is that you have control over your emotional state at any given time. So once you let your emotions come down and you come back to a neutral state, or maybe it's even a negative state, or maybe it's just a nice light state, let me know. Type something in the chat. What do you feel now when you let go of the memory? How does it change the way you feel? And let's hear that. I just want to make sure that you guys are doing this, that you're following along, you're having fun with me, because this is going to lead somewhere. We're building on something. And we got to get each piece, because if you suddenly realize where I'm going and you're like, "Oh, I want to do that," and you try to catch up, then you're going to be in one thing trying to catch up. And that's a pain in the butt. So actually play along now. So who's able to reach that? Okay, worry when I let it go. Okay, good, good. So worry comes back. That's probably a base state that you've been working with today. That's probably where you've been feeling today overall underneath that. Good. What else we got? My head feels less congested now. I feel lighter. Good. You probably had a release. Low level stress returns. Good. Feeling a sense of calm and completeness in stomach. It's not that you have low level stress. It's good. It's just that you know you can drop it and bring it back, drop it and bring it back. And that's ultimately what we're going to do. Relaxed. Good. Good job, Ian. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do next. I want you to begin feeling a sense of urgency to get back to the state. So we're going to do that, AG. Bring it back again and show your mind what you're teaching yourself right now is you can control this state. You can bring it up, you can drop it. You can bring it up, you can drop it. So I want you to bring it back again and get that endorphin pop again. And better than before. Good, Dean. So show yourself you can bring it back at will. And let it get really high again. Let yourself feel really good again, the endorphin pop. And then when you're at the peak of the endorphin state, or just high up, we don't have to worry about hitting the peak. Don't, just the good state, let it go again. And go back to this neutral, this relaxed state. And then do it again. So do this, go back and forth 3 or 4 times. And after you've gone back and forth 3 or 4 times, I want you to put a comment in the chat how that feels going back and forth. What is it like to go into this memory, feel the endorphin pop, the feelings, or whatever comes up, and then drop it and just relax for 30 seconds, a minute, and then go back and then relax. You can even do that while I'm talking. You don't have to study every word I'm saying. Don't try to get it perfect. There we go. You just started laughing. That's great. That's a good release, Noah. Keep going back and forth. Just keep trying it out. We can wait. We can hang out here for a little bit while you do this. You're developing a skill right now, by the way, guys. I'm going to explain. We're leading somewhere. So as you keep, if you actually do this, you're starting to develop a simple ability. And we're going to build on it, and we're going to add another piece in a minute. So after you've done it 3 or 4 times and you've successfully done it back and forth, put a comment. Let me know. Just keep doing it 3 or 4 times. I'll just ramble a little bit until some people start commenting. It might take a little bit. It's okay. There's always a way. It's on YouTube. So it'll be on YouTube later. AG wrote, I felt super present to the moment and realizing I can make myself feel like this at any time. Nothing external needs to happen. Exactly, AG. Dean, excited from the realization that I can actually alter my state in a positive way. Perfect. Really good. So we got 2 of you that have done it. You can rewatch here. Yep. So that's her. Leo gets less and less vivid each time I do it. That's fine. Are you able to feel the emotional state though, the endorphin pop, whether it's vivid or not? That's all I care about. I care about that you feel good. Because the truth is, and I'm going to say something here that some of you may have realized or may not. I feel some chasing. Yeah, if you try to chase it and you don't let it happen naturally, you'll start to go into wanting, and that's not. No, we don't want that. You have to let it happen naturally. Develop it over time. That's why we wanted you to pick a strong memory, so it's easy to bring up. So what you're going to begin to realize is that this state is not contingent on an external event. We're about to prove that. It seems like the external event is the cause, but what's really the cause is you, because the external event's not real anymore. It's not even there. You're bringing these feelings up at will, using the memory of an external event as the precursor. So that means the chemicals that are creating this are within you. They're within you all the time. Memory or not, The ability to feel this good is always within you. It will take practice. For some people, it does. It takes a bit of practice, and you got to do it over and over and over. And you got to sometimes find just the right memory. Other people just pop it right up. It was harder for me the first time I did this. And with time, it got easier and easier to the point where I can pull up good feelings at will. I found that the gustatory and auditory sensations had the strongest effect. I felt a change above my palate too. Good, good, good. See what else we got here. When I try and push the good feeling away and almost become stronger, that's because you're wanting to push it away. I remember wanting how that works. That's great. Great realization, Noah. Awesome. Ian, it was harder to get there with the same memory, but thinking about it, another one did it. Sometimes you do have to use a new memory. That's fine. Now, I want to ask you guys, just do this as an experiment for you. For any of you that are hitting it good, you don't need to do this if you're not hitting it good, but if you're hitting it really good, then I want you to try one simple idea. See if you can bring up the feeling again without the memory. Just see if you can call. Some of you will be able to do this, not all of you right away. Some of you need to practice. See if you can just bring up the endorphin response now as a trigger and drop the memory altogether and just call it up in your body. And let's see who can do that. I know some of you will be able to do that. And the truth is, you can all do that with a little bit of practice, a little bit of work. When the neural pathways get built, you'll be able to call up these endorphin pops and these experiences at will. And no, I don't know of any way, Brady, but I'm sure that Cairo will pop up and let you know if that's the case. Hey, Brady, good to have you, by the way. Saw you wrote, "Hey, Fearless." Somebody told me I was awesome. I'll always take that. Thank you. Thank you, Dean. Awesome. So Dean did it. You pulled it up at will. That's amazing. I love that, buddy. Feel it in my stomach. Good, good. High up. Okay. So Kyle wrote, you can drop it on your desktop. If I try to do that, I feel apathy and resistance. What to do? You need to practice it with the memory more and work with different memories till you can solidly feel good, and then slowly start getting rid of the memory until eventually you can just call it the feeling at will. Just make the transition take it sometimes takes a little longer. You got to really work with the memory for a while and then call it up, and you got to sit somewhere peaceful, and you got to be willing to feel open in the chest and open in the stomach. If you're closing here and trying to force it, no. Because all these feelings, guys, all these feelings come from the body. They come from the throat, the chest, the stomach, because that's where the chemicals run. That's where the feeling happens. Molecules of Emotion. It's a great book. They don't happen in your head. So when you relax into the body and let the body open and then call up the feelings, you're actually causing those endorphins to pump through your body again. And through memory, through an anchor, as they would say in NLP. Okay, good. Okay, good. Anybody else able to do it? And just keep practicing till you can. And you don't have to do it this way. You can use the memory for now. For any of you that can't do it, use the memory for now. I got it, but it was harder. That's fine. It doesn't even have to be a strong Noah. I don't care if it's strong as long as you got it. I imagine my heart is smiling, and I can often get. That's a great way to do it. So if you put an anchor to the memory, let's say you open to the memory of this perfect beach setting or your time in Italy or whatever, and then you put an anchor to it like a smile in your heart, then a lot of times you can drop the memory and just use the smile. That's a great way to do it. Some people just touch like some part of their hand. I never like doing that personally, but a lot of people do. I can just call it up at will. Okay. A little, but it's less noticeable. Good. I'm glad. That's perfect. Doesn't have to be as strong. I can. A lot harder, but slowly got it. It will get easier, AG. Harder in the beginning, but it gets easier. Good. Now what I want you to do is I want you all to go to neutral, drop this idea, and welcome anything that's been bothering you in your life recently. Maybe it's approaching women, maybe it's getting a girlfriend, maybe it's you've been fighting with your girlfriend, anything that's been bugging you, and notice that does the opposite. You start to go downhill. There's a sense your world starts closing in. That's the shutting of the heart. That's the shutting of the sun. Everything starts shutting and you start thinking more. All those thoughts start coming up. Notice that starting to happen. And as that starts to happen, as this closes and it reaches this point where it's really starting to close and this is starting to become your dominant world, where you're starting to really think about the problem, is because you look at immediately, as soon as wait till it closes a little bit, you start to go downhill. Then I want you to immediately drop that, turn. If you have to physically turn your body and look away from whatever you were looking at, the negative thing, and look at the new memory. Or just welcome up the feeling. If you can welcome up the feeling, welcome up the feeling. If you can't, the old one, and feel everything open again. And do that until you can do that. Like, boom, I see the negativity, I look away. And then when you open again and you're feeling good, put a comment in the chat. Just wanted to say that you've really opened me up to different avenues of living. What you share has played a massive role in the steady and substantial growth I've experienced. Thank you. You're welcome, Brady. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Now, as you open again, notice that you can look right at that negative thing, and as soon as it starts to pull you down like an anchor or a weight, turn away and open. And you can notice you can control. You can choose what you look at mentally. You can choose what you experience physically. I want you to have that experience. Even if it's a little bit, if it's not the full amount or it's partial, notice you can turn away from whatever's been bothering you and have the choice to look at something else. So let me know when you got that. Good. I feel relaxed in the stomach from the first try after I came back. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what you want to do. And then notice how you can control it. Anybody else get that? Or something similar or different? Maybe it's a whole different experience. Tried is normal to feel openness in the chest and heaviness in the legs. Yeah, you're going to feel different stuff in different parts of the body. Depends on where the anchors are hooked, Augustino. So, so as long as you're getting that openness, you feel the heaviness, look away, and then feel the openness. And eventually be able to feel the openness all through the body and start to clean it up. Me too, George wrote, and Mario, ultimate Mario fan. I find it hard to conjure up negative emotions, memories after the pre. That's perfect. That's great then. If there's nothing bothering you in your life, Mario, then that's great. But if there is something that's bothering you, maybe it's a fight you had with somebody, just look at it. And notice your body tends to go there naturally. But if it doesn't, that's even better because that means you're reframing that old experience. You can actually make all your negative experiences feel good. You can actually associate them with love, appreciation, courage. Felt self-esteem started to trigger in the stomach and turned and immediately relaxed and opened back up. Great. This is awesome. You're all doing really good. Brady wrote, sorry, don't mean to draw attention off the topic. Just can't, Brady. That's all right, bud. I appreciate it, man. And I love helping people. That's why I'm here. Okay, good. Now, for everybody that's doing this, it started to get worse. It starts to get worse. So that just means you probably have more negativity. So you need to spend more time on the positive and really anchor that positive. And I remember earlier you kind of said you hadn't fully managed to hold that positive yet. So I would spend more time learning to pull up the positive at will before doing the second half of the exercise and then go back and do it again later. You could even spend a few days just stopping the other day and pulling up good memories till it really anchors in your body. Okay. Joseph, some issues with my ex today, and this is helping. Perfect. Been having some of the best days of my life with my son recently, with women as well. Life has changed. That's what I love hearing. You have a magical life, guys. If you master this stuff, you can have a magical life. Good. Now, what I want you to do is I want you guys to look at the negative. Only let it come down a little bit. Don't let it go way down. As soon as it starts to pull you down, if you wait till it gets way down there, it's harder to pull out. So let it come down. And as soon as it starts to pull you down, say, I'm not having that. And then you go look at the good memory and open back up. And then when you're feeling really good, look at the negative memory again. And as soon as it starts to pull you down a little, look away and show your mind that it doesn't control you. And what you're going to find is that negative memory is going to have less and less power over you. It might even start to feel good at some point, or it might start to feel neutral, or you might start to be like, I can look away from that anytime I want. This big realization hits you, and you're like, wow, I can choose what I look at and what I focus on. And then there's going to be a third part we're going to do to this. And I want to see if you guys can get the third part. And if you don't get it all, just listen to this video over again and practice the first part. Master feeling good before you try to master the rest. And don't go, and if the negative memory takes you down too far, don't go so deep into it. Let it only take you down a little bit before you turn out. Go as deep as you can handle and then pull away. Show your mind, you decide what it focuses on. Your intention, your frontal lobe focuses where you tell it to focus. Awesome. So do this 3 or 4 times now and go back and forth and notice how it feels until you start to notice that negative memory has a different experience to you. Paul Eddy wrote, "Thank you, Brian. The exercise made me realize that all this time I was mistaking fear to attraction. It's due to my lack of initiative. I always shut down in front of tension." Mario fan, this is so helpful, Brian. I feel like this helps us with equanimity, which I really struggle with. Thank you. You're welcome. So notice, guys, I want you to notice now that memory is changing. Who's noticing that the negative memory is changing and you're starting to be able to look at it easier and easier, and it has less effect over you. You're also starting to be able to look at what you want to look at with more ease. And if you do it 4 or 5 times, it actually becomes harder and harder and harder to dive down into. Who's getting that feeling that you're almost reaching the point possibly where you can look right at it and it just doesn't feel negative anymore. There's no reason to look away because I don't feel bad. I can actually feel good when I look at it. Anybody getting that feeling? I just had a small release on the memory. Good, Augustino. Really good. The image is the same, but feeling changed. That's exactly it. So what happens is the same memory starts to feel lighter and lighter and lighter till eventually the memory starts to feel good. You can look at what was a negative memory and smile and laugh at it because you learned something from it. And if you pay attention, what will happen is that negative memory will start to teach you stuff. You'll start to get by that happening, I learned this and I learned that, and it's going to make my life better because I had that experience. And that's powerful when you get that realization. And that's what I want you to realize. J. Benjamin. I'm in terrible place in my life. In life, I allow people to walk all over me and disrespect my boundaries. I've done this for years, and I'm at a point of change or suicide. How do I stop this? Well, if you're at that point, you need to seek professional help, buddy. I'm going to tell you right now, seek professional help. Use these exercises. They're great exercises, but you have to learn to work with somebody to move up the emotional scale because you're anchoring your whole life to the lower end of the emotional scale, which is very changeable. I promise you it's very changeable. So go out and I would seek some real professional help. If you're at that level, there are tons of people out there, even free services that will gladly help you work and talk about this stuff. And they can make some big changes. Just find somebody you can relate to. You don't have to work with the first person but find somebody you relate to that you can understand, that can understand you. Especially with women. Actually starting to feel really good and laugh about a rejection from a girl I asked out. That's great. I love that, AG. Yeah, you learn from those rejections. They teach you a lot. Love it. Isn't when it gets worse that I am revealing the next layer, though. Not always. Sometimes when it gets worse, you're going down to go up. But you got to always have the intention to ultimately, in the end, go up. Sometimes you got to go down. But here's the deal: like if I'm feeling anger and then suddenly I go into grief, I don't necessarily drop the anger for the grief. I feel the anger and I feel the grief inside, and then I use the anger to transmute the grief to courage. and that moves me ultimately up the scale. So hopefully that made sense. Maybe someday I'll do a video on that. And we'll be talking about that actually at the disruption class more, because that's such a powerful principle. I'm going to have to do some practices around it. What I would do is go online, Benjamin, and just search for anybody that's for depression, suicide intervention, and just look people up. And my buddy did this once. Actually, one of my coaches. I'm going to give you if you know who Sam Pond is, he did this. He went online, looked somebody up, and he had a really bad drinking problem. He talks about it a lot, and he was going downhill, and the ground was spinning, and he was just losing everything. And he ended up in it calling somebody, and they did a bunch of work with him. For like first person he called right out of I think the internet or something. Did a bunch of work, changed his whole life. But he just called some people up. He went through, found some people. So if you look up that subject, people will sit and listen, talk to you, and work with you. And the releasing is still great. I mean, a lot of times I'll talk to people, and then I use when I need to dig deeper into something, then I use the releasing to process what comes up, and I constantly release, climbing towards cap. Powerful process. Okay, but go out there and find somebody. And yeah, we're going to be doing the disruption. We're going to be doing, we call it disruption what? Disruption process? I can't remember. But it's going to be a process we're going to be using to disrupt your negative thinking. We're going to be getting into that coming up here in December. We're going to be doing a Saturday class on it. So that'll be coming up soon too. And so do you have a link for that, George? You can put in the chat, the disruption event. And the daily disruption system is going to be in there's a link. If you look there, there's a URL in the website. There's a link to the event, and check it out. And that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing this process plus others, and adding to it, building on it, learning to disrupt all that, the heavier thinking and the negative thinking, that type of stuff. Yeah, 12-step programs are fantastic. If you don't mind, the thing that makes 12-step programs work so well is the aspect that Bill W. put in there, that it's about surrendering to something great. It's a similar idea. I'm looking to something greater than myself that has control of everything, and I'm learning to surrender to it. God, whatever you call it. Then they found when people do that, their whole lives tend to change a lot, because you're saying somebody out there's got my back. And that feeling of somebody having you, if you can truly develop that, which everybody can, it can be so, so powerful. So that would be another thing. Definitely check out 12-step groups. It doesn't have to be around alcoholism. There's 12-step groups for everything. Codependence Anonymous, people that were children of alcoholics, all kinds of stuff. So check that out too. Noah, using anger to transmute grief, that's tenuous. I did this recently without even realizing. Yes, it's one of my favorite practices. Once you release the good and the bad of anger, start using it proactively, it turns into courage so fast. Thanks. I resonate with the lessons on nice guy syndrome, and I'm fearful I can't get out. I've been trying for months, and I seem to reset back to. That's because you haven't developed a really good relationship to your anger and pride and courage yet. Those emotions are the emotions that take you out and up into cap. And if you're all constantly resisting the intensity emotions and shutting them back down, you go back down the scale. So you got to learn to not lose control to them, but also not make them wrong, and use them at like your own personal army to face your lower emotions and process them, burn them off. The phoenix burning up and being reborn, that type of stuff. Link for the daily disruption system. There it is. Boom. Check that out, guys. Yeah, do me a favor and click on that if you got any value out of today. It's going to be powerful, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And if everything goes well, I'll be doing it from my house in Montana, which I'm super excited about. Hopefully there'll be snow by then, because they got a late snow season. My buddy was out there today saying he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt outside, and he says this is abnormal for this time of year for Montana. But shout out from Puerto Rico. Do you like living there? Are you a native to Puerto Rico? You like living there? I've thought about living there part-time too. I want to go check it out. My buddy just moved there, and I'm going to go hang out with him soon. So, There will be a recorded call, Augustino. Yes, yes, there will be a recorded call. Okay, so notice that you're able to handle this stuff, and the data disruption system is also going to help you handle this stuff. It's going to take it even further, and it's going to be a recorded program that you can take and listen to over and over and over again. One of the biggest things I had is I was stuck a lot in apathy, and I was stuck a lot in grief and fear, and I used a lot of these processes to help me get down in there and clean that stuff up. One of the things that I remember from my childhood that was so powerful was that I had a really rough first few years of my childhood. My earliest memories, the first few houses I lived in, we moved every year, were all there was no love. It was just me alone, sad, lonely, and that's the feeling I had. And as I went through and learned to clean all that thinking up from back in those days and really process it, my life began to change a lot. I began to actually let people in more and more and more, and that was huge for me. So if you really want to disrupt that negative thinking, you really want to process, it's going to help you with that. Definitely check out the daily disruption system in here. Now, if you're like Benjamin and you're really at this point where you need help now, like I'm fed up, and you're saying you're suicidal, definitely get help. 12-step, talk to somebody, look it up online. Don't wait for that stuff. You can still do this stuff and learn a lot, but get somebody now to work with too that you can talk to live and in person. It can be very powerful. Find somebody supportive. Noah wrote, I've been exploring grounding a lot recently. Is it supposed to allow the energy to flow, meaning it's what causes you to feel more? Yes, grounding will cause you to feel more. Um, Grounding will allow you to feel more without being reactive to the feeling. You can feel a lot with bad grounding, but you'll be reactive to the feeling, nervous, jittery, kind of like a sparking wire versus a wire where the energy flows naturally. Okay. So let's dive in. That's a good question to start with. Hopefully, you guys are getting a lot of value out of this. You're starting to see that you have more power than you realize. And you do. You have a lot of power over your thinking, how you think about women, how you think about dating, how you think about sex, how you think about yourself. One of the biggest things I run into with guys, and here's another important one, is you guys think you're not as valuable as the women you're dating. You think you're less than. That happens a lot. I was that way. And then you're always trying to get women to prove you're good enough. If I get sex with this hot girl, I get a date with this hot girl, I'll be good enough. And when you start to look at the part of yourself that's self-devaluating yourself, that's picking on yourself and beating yourself up, and start to develop self-love for that person, and start to feel yourself as just as valuable as any other person on the planet, that beautiful woman that you have, that you all have certain qualities that are amazing, that's when you'll stop fearing those beautiful women. You'll start really enjoying their company, and they'll feel different around you too. They'll begin to enjoy you as much as you enjoy them. And because ultimately that's what they want in a man. They don't want a man that's constantly trying to take value from them, that's chasing them for value, but a guy that already thinks he's valuable enough and just enjoys them for human beings they are. And then that's the guy they want to be with. The guy that's not catering to them, but a guy who's honest with them. That's why the bad boy gets the girl, because the bad boy doesn't cater to her. The bad boy treats her like another human being, and sometimes worse. And they still prefer them over the nice guy because at least he's not, putting her on a pedestal, which ultimately is not what they want from the guy that they're attracted to. So that they most want to be with. There's no payment, Indian payment gateway option for the person. So there's no payment option, I think is what he's trying to say, Cairo. So you might want to check that out. So amazing how clear everything you're saying is once you put it in the inner and outer work. Powerful stuff. You're welcome, man. Wish every man could hear this. So do I. I wish I heard it when I was younger. It's my biggest regret is I didn't do all this at an earlier age. So let's hear from you guys. What questions do you have as we move to the end of this call today? What questions do you have? Let's take a few. Pop it in the chat if you got one for me. I know you guys got questions. Let's hear those questions, or see those questions, I guess is the right way to put it. So for the guy who had trouble with the payment option, there's a little note in the chat for you to email support@thefearlessman.com, and he can get you taken care of. Kadir, what is the best way of letting go of the ex? Oh, great question, Kadir. I did a lot of releasing on my ex when we broke up because I knew immediately, like every time you're with somebody, you get attachments. It's just the way it is. Doesn't matter who it is. We get attached to the person we're at. They're in our life a lot. They're there a lot. They provide a lot of value. We provide a lot if they're a good person for you. Um, and so as soon as we broke up, and we needed to break up because we loved each other dearly. She was a sweet, sweetheart, and she still is. And a lot of you seen her in the YouTube videos, if you can guess who she is. And I don't think I ever called her my girlfriend in the YouTube videos, but I think a lot of you guys can guess. And when we broke up, it was mainly because she wanted kids and I didn't. And we were going in two different directions. And I wanted her to have kids if that's what she wanted. And so I needed to let her go. So I would say to myself every day, I would look and say throughout the day, I would do a lot of releasing. I'd say, what is she providing me, this woman, that I'm not providing myself? In other words, that I can't provide. So if it was like a sense of companionship, well, can I can I welcome that part of myself that doesn't feel like I'm good company? Is it affections, or can I welcome that part of myself that doesn't feel like I nurture myself enough? I would release on the part that it would, and instantly when you're grieving, it'll bring up tears, it'll bring up sadness because it's hitting you hard at that point. And if you do that, and I did that a lot throughout the day, and I just let my body cry. Within no time, I felt way better. And not only do you feel better about that person, and you cry it out, you become more whole as a human being because you start learning to welcome more and more of those parts of yourself, the crying and the grieving, and then welcoming the love for that memory, whatever memories come up, because you'll get memories that'll come up with each one of those. Starts to literally shift how you see yourself. And then I go through any memory that's related to that in my life. Like if it was companionship, and I'm saying, well, how am I not good company for myself? Then I go through all the memories of how I rejected myself that might come up from my earliest memories forward and let them go. That changes who I'm being. Yes, this will cause a lot of tears, a lot of crying, a lot of sadness. But in the end, it'll cause a lot more self-love, personal power. And then the next woman you draw will be even more confident than the last one. So hopefully you guys got that. Let's dive in. Okay, a lot of you put questions in after I did this, and we got a few of the, what do we call them, Cairo? We got a bunch of them. So we're gonna go through those where I gotta answer those questions. I'm gonna hit some of those. Dude, you guys went nuts while I was answering that question. Okay, let's see.
Do you mean the super chat or?
Yeah, super chat. I couldn't remember the word. So I want to make sure I say it right. Do you have a video of those books you recommend on reading? I don't know what books you're talking about, Jesse. I have lots of books I recommend. I think there's even a recommended reading list. Letting Go by David Hawkins would fit this scenario today. And then my book, I'm going to go to the super chats first. Sorry, Noah. And then we'll come back. Grow with the flow. Like it. How do you get over the whole I'm too old issue, especially around a younger crowd? I'm 38. Dude, I'm 53. When I was 38, I felt so old, though. Now I don't feel old. That's the funny part. I was about your age when I was sleeping with this girl. She was a lot younger than me. She was in college, and I remember laying in bed with her. She hadn't asked me how old I was, and we ended up sleeping together. And I remember I'd always, like, when girls asked me that, I try to dodge the issue. Oh, yeah. Try to crack jokes to distract from it. And this time I didn't do that. I remember saying, you know what? If I'm man enough, I'll just own it. I'll look at the girls like my buddy Zan used to do and say, what am I going to do with somebody your age? You're just a kid. There's this attitude that I'm the prize, right? And so what I did to her is, as soon as she asked me, we were laying in bed cuddling, and I told her my exact age. I'm 38, whatever it was at that time. It was around that age. Maybe it was 37 or something. And I just owned it. And she went, oh, okay. Never came up again. So then after that, I said, I wonder about this. And I just started saying it to women. I'm this age. And I'd meet them. Oh, that's so sexy. I like it when and I was like, interesting. And I noticed the more I owned it, the less women cared. Matter of fact, I was the only one that ever cared. And still to this day, The women don't care. Now, I feel and act young. That's part of it. I don't mean I act like a kid. I just have a youthful energy to my life. I'm still but I have all the maturity of somebody older. And what you got to realize is that women that are older typically love older men. Women want men older than them, and especially today, more than any time ever. Women really love these older men. As long as you treat them well and you're awesome. I hear this so much that younger men haven't figured out how to be men yet, and older men have. So we really come into our value as we get older. And I can't tell you how many men I've met. My dad is married to a woman 16 years younger than him. And it's just one after another. It's like that. And if you go out and look at all the age gap relationships, I think you'll really start to see it as different. Now, what you got to do is welcome the part of yourself that feels old, and let yourself feel old. And use this process I did today. As soon as it starts to overwhelm you, look away and choose to feel good with a good memory. Then come back and look at the part of yourself that feels old and choose to feel good until eventually you can look right at that part of yourself that feels old and start welcoming feeling young. Matter of fact, you could even welcome memories of times you felt young and start to anchor that into your body and then go back and forth between those two until you start to associate that new memory, because it's just a feeling. And women tend to respond to how old you feel. Hear this: how old you feel, not how old you are. If you feel young, women will want to be around you. I've seen women respond to people like they were old just because they acted old, not because they were old. So that's true too. Um, you can try it as long as you get the endorphin pop, meat heavy, about visualizations to activate memories. Just give it a shot. Because all that matters is you get it. Okay, I'm gonna go down to the next one. Okay, we'll pop that up. I hit show on that one. Let's see what it says. Brian, will you ever do a 10-day meditation silent retreat someday? Well, we have a week-long movement embodiment program. And it's that when you're moving, we're discussing, we're working with energies, we're moving energies around, but it has a huge meditative effect. And that's 6 days. That's probably the longest I do. Probably not I'm not a Vipassana guy. If I ever do it though, it'd probably be someplace in the mountains. I've got my place in Montana. I might do some retreats up there and do some shorter retreats, different stuff that might happen someday. But most of my stuff is going to be about subtle movement and embodiment, communication, that type of opening your heart, that type of stuff, opening your stomach, opening your legs, and understanding it's not really the movement that I'm concerned with. It's how the energy flows through your body and learning to master that. That's what I'll be doing a lot of. Okay, let's come back. I think there was one more in here. I wanted to hit that one too. You guys are flying now. Ooh. Did I get them all? The super chats?
Yeah, that's it.
There's only 2? I thought there were 3. Okay. Okay, if I missed your super chat, I apologize. I'm going to double check just to make sure, because I swore there were 3. Maybe I just saw one twice. That's probably what it was. Okay, cool. Cool. We got them all. Okay. So we'll take a couple more. I'll pick a few here. Okay, Mario the Fan. Let's just randomly pick this one. It's a longer one. I have trouble with self-trust. I grow ambivalent with women when I'm with, and I've never know if I am really attracted to them. How do we trust ourselves more and more? Do we know when our attraction is genuine? Well, you're probably growing ambivalent because you're shutting down on them. You're starting to close off. You're closing off the different centers. So learning to stay open is the first step. That practice I did today is a perfect example. I would take the practice I did today and think about the women you get ambivalent for, and then look away, whatever your memory is, and see if you can open back up, and then look back at them and keep going back and forth. You can learn to stay open with them again. And what you want to feel is not ambivalent ultimately, because even if they're wrong for you, you can have love for them. You can have a lot of love for them if they're wrong for you. And and you'll reach that point where you have this that you appreciate for who they are, the experience you had together, but you're letting them go, and it'll be clear. Just like, and then if they're right for you, you'll feel this sense that we just flow together, and that's really what you want. Ambivalence is a sign you're shutting off, and that's not what you want. Now, if they're treating you like crap and you know it and you're building resentment, then you either got to clean up the resentment or you got to move on, because that's not cool. And we don't, unresolved resentment um, leads to ultimately breaking up anyways. So, and now with that said, when I had problems with the relationships, I found a girl that I thought was amazing, but I felt myself wanting to pull away like I did with every girl. And I just said, I'm going to be with you anyways. I chose her, and we didn't end up staying together ultimately, but I stayed with her for a period of time, 3 months, 6 months, and it really worked to see if there was something there. And because I knew she was a great person and a great woman and sexy and beautiful, and I just figured I was pulling away. And in the end, we both had a great relationship and grew from that. I didn't just pick some random woman. I did pick a woman that I knew was great and amazing, that I could actually potentially grow into something with. Um, and I told her straight up, I find this part of me that wants to pull away, but I've done this before and I don't want to do that. I was really honest with her about it. Okay. Let's see. Anybody ever guess my girlfriend? Probably not. Okay. I can't see them. I'm not going to go through all these, but let's go on down. Let's pick another one. There's a nice comment. Brian, thanks for all the amazing videos. If our life is a struggle, like we have to put effort and we get physically and emotionally exhausted and there's a lot of stress, what do you recommend? Um, you got that practice I did today. I mean, you've literally probably associated your life with struggle. So you got to take it back. That's just a feeling. First thing you want to take back is your morning. Learn to get up in the morning and have a practice that puts you in a really nice state for the rest of the day. And then start taking back the easiest things that have caused you a little bit of stress first, and work your way up the food chain. But if you've associated stress with your whole life, you got to take back some space. Maybe you got to do less too. Maybe you got to commit to one or two really good goals so you can focus on enjoying your days. It's another thing I had to do. This could have several problems, several reasons for it. The one thing I had to do was I started scheduling in self-love first. What I meant by that is, what are things I love to do for me? And I put those in my calendars first, and then I put my work around it to make sure I did that stuff. That became my high priority stuff, even over work. I got to go out and do this today that'll feed my heart and feed my soul. I got to go out and do this today that'll feed my heart and feed my soul. And then I go and do the tougher stuff later. Some people say to do it the other way, and I agree with that too. But if you have a habit of working your ass off and not having any fun, you might want to switch that order. If you have a habit of fucking around all day and not doing anything, and you don't work, then do it the other way. If there's a sense I'm stressed because I'm not doing work and avoiding work, that's a different story. Okay. So just switch that order. And you got to look at both of those. And by the way, when you do work, you need to, at the time you do. So if you do the high priority stuff first, and let's say that's really enjoying your life, maybe you love to surf and you haven't been surfing. So put surfing in there first, because that's the reason you work. Then when you go to work and you put that in there, make sure you do your most important task that's going to relieve the most stress from your work life first, not the easiest task, but the one that you avoid at that point. And so that's killing two birds with one stone. You're starting to enjoy your life, and you're doing the stuff that's going to take the most stress out of work first too. And so between the two, your life begins to change. Okay, awesome. Let's see. Let's just go down here to the bottom. And sorry, guys. I wish I could get to every question. I always want to, but it's not possible. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of the best embodiment practices out there, Brian. Well, it is. It's great at grounding practice, and it's a great practice for learning to feel your body. I agree with that 100%, but it's not directly embodiment. Uh, I'd say the best embodiment practice is a practice that actually directly works on embodiment, and not exercise, not flexibility, but on body, on learning to feel the flow of energy through your body. That would, to me, would be, and that's the whole focus of the exercise. And that's what I consider our embodiment practice. That's what we do, or something similar to that. Okay, what time is it? It's 6:09. I'm gonna take one or two more. Brian is in good form today. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm just gonna bounce around. I'm gonna bounce back up. And so, did you see this part from Benjamin? He ordered our book a while back, Cairo, and he said he never got it. So, and he's never heard back from support.
Yeah, I already messaged him to email me.
Okay, good. We need to make sure that's taken care of. Awesome. I had the same problem, Benjamin. Ordered my book like 3 times and didn't show up. We fixed that problem though, I think. So I think there was a problem with the delivery company or something going on. Okay, I'm glancing through these. I'm going up a little higher. You guys got great questions, so it's hard to pick one. Okay, Noah. Since Noah's, I've met Noah in person and he's come into workshops, I'm going to give him this one. Tips for staying grounded while walking. I can feel it when standing still. See, grounding is about feeling into the ground. So what I do is I put one foot down and I take a step with that one foot and I'll step back and forth with that one foot till once I can feel what it feels like to be grounded standing still, then I'll take that. Let's say it's the right foot. Then I'll step forward on the right foot and I'll feel myself ground as I step forward and then step back, step forward, step back, or maybe I'll go half step until I can really feel it. Within no time, you'll be able to take a whole step, then 2 steps, then 3 steps, then you're off and running. It doesn't take long at all. And you make sure you go back and forth between the 2 feet. Only do 1 foot at a time. So your focus is on 1 foot, not bouncing back and forth, and it just makes it so much easier, Noah. So that's my recommendation for that, since you already know how to do standing grounding. Also, I've got some videos on, I got one video out there on grounding, a YouTube video that's a good practice for learning to ground standing still. So if you need to develop that more, get that one. But it doesn't have the walking component. But for anybody that's thinking about this, check that video out. And I think I'm going to do a new one soon. And then I'm going to probably also do a video on grounding with women, have a woman in the room, maybe poking at me, and we'll do some grounding work with that too and play with that. So, okay. Get down to the bottom. What is the ultimate state of being? That's an interesting question. That, according to Lester Levinson, it's imperturbability. That's what he would say. It's the untouchable state, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. He called it imperturbable. So it's a state where nothing ever bothers you. And so you can choose to believe that state exists if you want. A lot of people say it's impossible to live in that state. I don't think it's impossible. I think you can. I think just very few people ever do. They reach a state because they're disassociated in a weird sort of way, because they've released so much on their body. They don't take their body's feelings and emotions personal anymore. It's not that they don't have them. I just think they're all part of the divine thing that is life. So, the thing with describing an ultimate state is that its words are limited. There's a million people with different words to describe ultimate state, and a million traditions. And whoever you're talking to is going to have the new awesome word of the week, word that doesn't have any negative connotations anymore. And because the old word has gotten some negative connotations from people saying it all the time, and that's great. But ultimately, it's experience, I don't know if I can answer. Let's see if I can answer this question. Can you explain the process of coming out of victimhood mentality? Well, victimhood is a sense that you're needy. You need something from other people. Otherwise I'm not going to feel good about myself. A non-victim doesn't need something from other people to believe in himself. Doesn't mean he feels good in the moment. He might feel sad. But he knows if that doesn't get a hug, he might even ask for a hug. But if he doesn't get a hug, he's okay. You know what? I can handle it. I'm a man. But I'd love a hug. Or, please give me a hug. I don't know what I'll do. I need a hug right now. I feel broken. Do you hear the difference? One has a whinier tone. One is reaching outside their body, looking for somebody to save them. The other is inside their body saying, you know what, it sucks in here right now, but I'll figure it out. And if you can help me, that's great too. I don't let it in. So there's a difference in the flow of energy. Needy strong, or vulnerable strong versus vulnerable needy. So it's really that neediness. Vulnerable strong is, yeah, I can cry right now and I can handle it. Vulnerable needy is, I can cry right now and I'm broken. Please fix me. One repels women, one pulls women in. And I think you can tell the difference. Okay, so I think I'm going to end on that one. I'm going to re-bring up the disruption bundle. Grab it before the prices go up. The prices will go up. They're going up soon. There's a link in the video in the chat right now for it. Hop on that. If you guys really want to learn to do this deep work on your mind and really learn to shift those deep negative thoughts and get out of those thoughts that are controlling your mind, then this is the program for you. It's coming up very fast. You'll get the recordings of it too. And for those of you that just went through this little practice today, did you get benefit out of it? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? If you did, then this is definitely something you want to get into, because those negative thoughts, man, I had really, really, really bad negative thoughts and self-devaluating thoughts. I was attacking myself all day long, and I really had to do a lot of work to learn to like me. Man, I hated hanging out with myself. And that was a big reason I couldn't get the women I wanted in my life. And the only women I could get were women that hated themselves as much as me, as much as I hated myself. So we could sit in a pool of hate together, and that's not what I wanted. So, and I wanted to lead an awesome life and be happy. And I don't want to need a woman to make me happy. I want to enjoy her because she's awesome. And I don't want a woman to need me to make her happy either. I want a woman that knows how to be happy without me and wants to be with me by choice, not out of necessity. Otherwise, we're just going to have a life of drama and depression. And so that's really getting out of this part of yourself that has negative, deep, dark thoughts, and learning to really start to have good thoughts for yourself and enjoy them is important. And you can do it. You got to do the work. You got to develop the practices. You got to learn to focus and control your mind and your body and feel, but it can be done. So if you're ready to make that change, the Daily Disruption Bundle is for you. Click on the link in the video, hop on it right now, grab it before the prices go up. With that said, I want to thank you all for being on the call. You're all awesome. And that's pretty much it. Guys, Shogam Trunkpa. Yeah, he was an interesting character. I've read that book. He also had his challenges too in life. Interesting character. Interesting book. Good. I remember I read that a long time ago. Anyways, guys, have a beautiful day, and remember, you're all awesome, and only the confident really live. Take care. Have a beautiful day. Bye.